Welcome back to another episode of Archie's Sonic Character Files as we explore the histories of the inhabitants on planet Mobius. In this episode, we take a look at the history of the fabulous fashion designer, Honey the Cat, and the wealthy businesswoman, Breezy the Hedgehog. I decided to group these two together for a number of reasons. They share the same screen time for the most part, their history involves certain Sonic games, and they're both women of business. First, we'll start off with Honey. She made her first appearance in the Champion story arc from issues 268 through 271. She's one of the fighters participating in Breezy's Chaos Emerald Championships tournament, though she's mainly there just to advertise her line of clothes. After some talking with Sonic and Tails, and one of her biggest fans, Amy Rose, she states that if she does win the tournament, she'll happily give Sonic and the Freedom Fighters the Chaos Emerald to help them with the Shattered World crisis, along with some extra ad revenue. She goes up against Tails in the tournament, and comes out on top. When she goes up against Sonic, they both put up quite a battle, but eventually Sonic is the winner, though Honey doesn't seem too bothered by it. At the end of the tournament, she signs a deal with Breezy the Hedgehog in designing clothes for her robot staff. She does question on why Breezy did nothing to stop the hooligans and Metal Sonic from snatching the Chaos Emerald, and after getting a shrewd response, she heads out to take care of the orders. After this story, she would make a few smaller appearances. In issue 280, she helps Sally and Rhoda get reservations at a restaurant, with the promise from Sally to allow her to design Sally's entire coronation. In issue 283, she's one of the many people offering to assist the Freedom Fighters to help restore the planet. And in the case of the Pirate Princess story arc, we get some flashbacks showing how she met Princess Undina and convinced her to help model some of her line of clothing, as well as designing the princess's special water umbrella. And that concludes Honey, the fashion designer. Now this is a gal that has an interesting history. She's based off of the Fighting Vipers character of the same name. She was planned to be featured in the original release of Sonic the Fighters, most likely as a nod to her origins, but she got scrapped. Then when the game got ported over to PS3 and Xbox 360, they decided to put her back into the game. Yeah, a scrapped character that ended up coming back, which seems to be a common thing happening in Sonic games these days. She first had a small cameo on the cover for Sonic Universe issue 40, before they decided to fully develop her as a character in the new timeline. And yeah, I like her. She's full of energy and ambition. I'm not really familiar with the Fighting Vipers series, but from what I can gather, Archie's take heavily based her personality and other details off of the original Honey, something that ended up getting carried over into the Sonic Encyclopedia book. Now, it's fitting that she would appear in a story that does its own adaptation of Sonic the Fighters, though it does raise the question on how is she able to be a fashion designer and a fighter at the same time. Well, we do get small glimpses of her office, which seems to imply that she does the martial arts thing during her downtime, and apparently she's more of a self-taught fighter. Now that I think about it, she kind of reminds me of Rarity in a way. Both are passionate fashion designers and somehow manage to handle dealing with two jobs at once. Allie Baker, one of the writers on Archie Sonic, did state there were long-term plans for Honey, especially when she was going to have an active role in issue 293, but that story ended up getting cancelled. Despite getting the chance to officially appear in a game and get more screen time in Archie Sonic, Honey is just another one of those abandoned characters that Sega seems to have no interest in bringing back, unless it's just for a cameo. Maybe her lack of appearances is because of her ties to the Fighting Vipers series or something. I personally think that when you look at her design, she's a bit too flashy when compared to the other game characters, so I don't know how they would try to tone down the design, because right now, she really doesn't have anywhere else to go in official Sonic media. I suppose there's IDW Sonic, but outside of one or two cameos, she's not really an established character in that series. I know she has her fans, but as of now, Archie Sonic is the only time we'll get to see Honey the Cat in an active role with a fleshed out personality, and not just thrown in for the sake of cameos. Now let's move on to Breezy the Hedgehog. So to get this out of the way, she first appeared at the ending of issue 267, and since their history is scattered throughout the Champion story arc, we'll be covering it in terms of lore instead of by issue number. Life started off pretty rough for an orphan Breezy, fending for herself out on the streets. During Robotnik's early days of his reign of terror, the Doctor decided to take her in, as he had plans to put her to good use. She teamed up with Scratch and Grounder, acting as the damsel in distress, so that Sonic could save her and join him on his quest to rescue Tails. During the adventure, she was secretly feeding Robotnik info on Sonic's current whereabouts. Once they arrive at the Scramble Egg Zone and encounter a prototype model of the Silver Sonic robot, Breezy drops the act and reveals to Sonic that she has been working for Robotnik all along. Sonic yells at her, saying that a kid's life is at stake, but Breezy doesn't care. While Sonic battles against the Silver Sonic prototype, Breezy seems to have gotten away scot-free. Later on, she decided to stop being Robotnik's lackey and start her own business, in this case, the entertainment business, by creating Breeze Media. Before the events of Sonic Heroes, Robotnik decided to create Casino Park as a gift to Breezy to expand her entertainment business. While Breezy likes it, she knows that Robotnik wouldn't be this generous to her and calls him out. Turns out it was actually Neo Metal Sonic that did all of this. He threatens her if she tells Sonic and his friends about this, but she assures him that she can't be bothered when the casino business benefits her needs. And later on, she would acquire some of Robotnik's old robots to act as her employees, including her former teammates, Scratch and Grounder. Which leads us to the present time, where Breezy has become the most successful woman in the entertainment business, owning casinos all over the world, successful TV shows like Sonic Man and Chow Boom, and of course the long-anticipated feature film, Chow in Space 3! During the Shattered World crisis, Scratch, Grounder, and Coconuts discover a Chaos Emerald and bring it to her. After some suggestions, she decides to have it be the grand prize of a fighting tournament, hosted in Casino Park, and advertises the hell out of it, which catches the attention of the Freedom Fighters, who are surprised by the news, and Robotnik, who is not too thrilled about the news. Even after he issues many threats at Breezy, she still refuses to give up the emerald to the Doctor. After all, with Breeze Media, she gives the people what they want. She greets Sonic, Tails, and Amy, who signed up to take part in the tournament, and lays down the rules and other things. Due to Sonic's werehog condition, he states that he'll only take part during the day. At first, Breezy doesn't agree to this, but when Sonic remarks that he'll just drop out of the fight, she reluctantly agrees to daytime fighting for Sonic. After the big tournament, she makes a deal with Honey the Cat to sign a contract to help design clothes for her employees. When asked about why her staff did nothing to stop Team Hooligan and Metal Sonic from causing trouble at the tournament, she states that she knew that her staff wasn't enough to handle them, and that she knew that she was going to lose that emerald, no matter what happened. All she cared about was the views and the money coming from those viewers. And after a show like that, she got exactly what she wanted. The last time we would see her would be in issue 287, witnessing the planet becoming whole again, much to her annoyance. And that concludes Breezy, the shifty businesswoman. And I really like this take on the character. Someone who has had ties with Robotnik, taken lessons from him on how to survive in life, and now living the dream, being one of the most wealthiest people on Mobius. Even if her methods of getting there were rather shady. She's definitely a gal who gets what she wants, doing anything to get the public's attention for her own personal means. And she's a very entertaining neutral character, not a damsel in distress, not a hyper-masculine person, just a gal who minds her own business, and taking advantage to boost her wealth, all while putting on a smile for the public to hide her greed and dark past. It really makes her one of the more realistic characters in the Archie Sonic universe. I think this quote sums up this version of the character very well.
Your business with Sonic is just that, your business. Hero, villain, I don't take sides. I just do whatever makes me a profit.
Yeah, it's quite different from her origins and adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, where she was a robot made by Robotnik to lure Sonic into a trap. Then, after she was reformed, she became the host of a talk show. So with Archie Sonic, she's just a regular hedgehog, had some fun with Robotnik for a while, and really went all ham on the entertainment business. And of course, there's her design, which I also really like. I always consider this as the definitive look for Breezy. Even so, it is kind of obvious that Breezy was more or less a replacement for Mammoth Moogle from the old timeline, as both characters own a casino, with staff members being made up of Robotnik's older robots. Although it is a bit confusing on how she got them. Robotnik says that he shipped those older models to Breezy's casino, but she claims that she rescued them from scrap. I guess she just has a soft spot for her old co-workers. Really wish we got to see more scenes of her with Scratch, Grounder, and Coconuts. Much like Honey, Baker said that there were long-term plans for Breezy, but again, the series ended up getting cancelled. So, like a lot of things from the new timeline, Breezy was taken away too soon. Outside of waiting for Lost Hedgehog Tales to come out in 2050 or whatever, the only bit of possible info of future plans I could find was this tweet from Ian Flynn saying that the whole Rags to Riches story might have been fabricated, and that she was possibly a robot. I'm not sure if he was just joking, but if that was intended to be the future plans for the character, then I'm not really a fan of the idea. I mean, sure, it's referencing your origins and adventures of Sonic, but personally, I much prefer the Archie Sonic version to have always been a regular hedgehog, who got a successful life by doing some shady business in the past. Oh yeah, speaking of Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, here's a bonus character file. Throughout the Champion story arc, Wes Weasley makes a few cameos. Yeah, fitting to see a character who started off as a door-to-door salesman to becoming an announcer advertising a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, these two panels are all the screen time he gets in Archie Sonic, hence why I'm not really giving him his own standalone episode. Although there is one interesting thing about the character. Apparently, one idea Ian Flynn had in mind that didn't get very far in development was that at one point Robotnik would be arrested and put on trial, with Wes Weasley acting as his attorney. Yeah, with a setup like that, I can easily imagine Wes would be like the Sonic version of Lionel Hutz, and it would have been glorious. Well, that takes care of this character file, so until then, I got a juice!
Come on, I'll make amends. I know just a little for you.